Measurement, how much is the item is recorded. The basis of measurement include historical cost, current cost, realizable value, present value. Okay. The presentation and disclosure. Okay. Where the item is recorded. Okay. And other information about the item which I think it is required in Islamic financial institution because the IFRS MSB approved accounting standard may not be sufficient to have a full disclosure in Islamic financial transactions. So the users of financial statement, yang ni pun you dah tahu, I tak perlu repeat lagi. So include shareholders, what are the information need by shareholder. Of course, the obvious reason is to whether they will invest in the business or not. They want to know whether the business has made a profit or loss. Okay. Whether the time of the business will positively or negatively affect their value of their shareholding. And then the management is the officers that are appointed to run the business as per the shareholders' expectation. So the financial statement is a medium of communication for shareholders to know about the performance of the directors and managers. The customers and customer may want to know if the business continue to be the reliable sources of goods and services. The supplier wants to know if the business continue to be reliable customers. They want to know whether the business maintain its ability to purchase goods or take the services, or whether the customer able to fulfill their obligations of credit purchase. And then competitor use the financial statement to make comparison, to analyze their performance and compare their performance with other institutions in the same industry. The tax authority, so you know that tax is the primary sources of income for almost all countries to fund their various government expenditure. So it is important for the tax authority to look at the financial statement. And then regulatory authority, okay. One of the primary objective of regulatory authority use the financial statement is to ensure compliance and to ensure public confidence towards the institutions. And then the financial analyst, including the investment manager, rely on the financial statement to determine the present performance and the future prospects of the business. Okay. And the objective of financial reporting to communicate with the users by fulfilling the general and specific information, to allow existing investors to make a decision, okay, or to attract the potential investor. Because when they look at the financial statement, they can have they able to estimate, to make estimates, and demonstrate creditworthiness, okay, of the reporting entity by presenting the asset and liabilities position of the entity and compliance to requirement. Okay, and for Islamic financial institution, the extended objective, this one as required by AAOIFI, IOFI, to determine the rights and obligations of interested party, including rights and obligations resulting from incomplete transactions and other events, okay, in accordance with the principles of Sharia. to safeguard entity, asset and rights of others, to contribute to enhancement managerial productive capability, to encourage compliance to Sharia, and then to provide useful information to make a legitimate decision, okay, when dealing with Islamic banks. And the qualitative characteristic of financial statement, these points are all explained further on page 815 further. So the qualitative characteristics of financial statement include the relevance, okay, and the relevance meaning the information can be used by the users of information to make informed decision. Faithful representation, meaning that the transactions or the data must be reliable, complete, neutral and free from error. Okay. Comparability is not a uniformity. It means that the financial statement can be compared to other institutions in the same industry. Verifiability assures that users of the financial information can have information which faithfully represent the economic phenomena. Timeliness, of course, the information is made available on time, and all information must or should be understandable or understood by the users of information. Okay. So in terms of Islamic financial reporting, it concerns on the cross-border comparability. For example, invest in Bank A in Bahrain or invest in Bank B in Malaysia. Why this issue occur? It is because their financial statement may be difficult to make comparison, as both bank use different accounting standard. Okay. So there's issues of cross-border comparability. Okay. I think you already know about the IFRS convergence and the full compliance with IFRS as a basis for the financial reporting in Malaysia. So therefore, investors would have better understanding of the financial statement prepared by companies in Malaysia, and in making comparison between companies worldwide, as investors are increasingly making decisions in a global context. But again, this issue happened because it is not, they are not using IFRS or MASB approved accounting standard. So the information needed on how the institutions comply to Sharia. Okay, from the financial statement tu kita boleh identify sama ada institution tersebut comply with Sharia or not, and how actually they treat the prohibited earnings and expenditure. Ada tak disclosure berkenaan dengan how actually they do the cleansing of the Sharia non-compliance income. For example, is there any items under the items of expenses that relate to how they treat the prohibited earnings and expenditures? Their economic resources and obligations, their obligation to pay zakat, fiduciary requirements and social responsibility. So social responsibility, we can differentiate it between the corporate social responsibility practices and also Islamic social finance, for example, charity and donation. Okay, sadaqah and so on, wakaf. So these are the accounting standard setters for IFI. Okay, you need to to know about that entity. So RASB or IASC is established in 1973. It was a consortium of national CPA organizations, and committee members served part-time while maintaining their connection with their firms and their clients. The early standard were just compilations of the diverse accounting practices from around the world, with some expressions of preferred alternative, but no coherent conceptual foundation. Malaysia had adopted RASC. Sorry, what? Petang. Okay. Malaysia has adopted IS standard as issued by ASC and National Accounting Standard, as issued jointly by MIA and MICPA. However, when MASB was created, the accounting standard were renamed as MASB standard, and these standards were in substance similar to IFs, except for Malaysian Accounting Standard as adopted. So the original standard are called IAS, and the body of standard issued by the ISC is now referred to IFRS. Okay. Maria, please. Okay. So globally, Islamic financial institutions have demonstrated both a keen awareness and a strong acceptance of IFRS. Institutions in several of the Gulf Cooperation Council countries currently report under IFRS, and there are further examples of IFRS being adopted in other territories. Now, the point that I would like to highlight is that some jurisdictions implement IFRS, some not. But those who adopt IFRS, maybe because of the reasons, the market prefer robust standards that have undergone a strict due process, okay, as on how the standard has been developed. IFRS avoid arbitrage in the case of leasing. And then in Malaysia, Sharia Advisory Council of Malaysia, Bank Negara Malaysia, has stated that uncertain terms that IFRS do not contravene, uncertain terms that IFRS do not contravene with Sharia precepts. So they say that Islamic financial transaction can apply IFRS. Okay, MASB officially announced the intention to bring Malaysia to full convergence with IFRS standard in 2008. And as part of the convergence effort, MASB introduced a new IFRS compliant framework, okay, which is MFRS in November 2011. Okay, in Malaysia, accounting framework is based on IFRS and adopted locally as the MASB standards, MASB approved accounting standard. Rather than issuing specific Islamic standard, MASB provide technical releases to explain how best to accommodate Islamic transactions. Initially, adalah effort daripada MASB untuk come up with specific Islamic accounting standard. Tapi over the years, based on the research and findings that they get, they have decided not to develop separate Islamic accounting standard, but applies MASB approved accounting standard. Okay, so the IFRS applies unless there is a clear or explicit Syariah prohibition, which in the Malaysian experience is very rare. Okay, memang dia tak ada significant issues lah on whether they can adopt MASB approved accounting standard in Islamic financial institutions. So any transaction can be accounted for and reported within IFRS financial statement. Okay. In those cases where there were no specific IFRS requirement, then any treatment does not conflict with the framework may be adopted. That's why when Islamic financial institution, some of them has adopted IOFI standard partly. If the standard is not conflict with MASB, then approved accounting standard, then they are allowed to adopt, to implement that standard. So MASB has had a project, ini I mentioned just now, FRS MASB I1, okay. Tapi it appeared that much of the conventional accounting concept and generally accepted accounting principles could be applied to Islamic financial transaction. So they ceased its policy of issuing a separate standard, but issued other document that discuss the applications of MASB approved accounting standard. Okay, instead of developing separate Islamic accounting standard, dia menggunakan MASB approved accounting standard with addition of guidelines. Okay, the decisions. Kenapa IFI boleh guna MASB is by referring to the statement of principle I1, financial reporting from an Islamic perspective. Okay. I think I already explained this. Do you think I already explained on this? I rasa macam dah aja ni. Ke I repeat the same ni. Kita dah masuk ke harmonization? Belum?
Belum ada.
Ya. Rasa macam I dah terangkan ni. Belum So the point that I want to highlight now is actually before this MASB want to develop a separate MASB I1 tu, standard untuk Islamic financial transactions. Tapi dia decide untuk tidak teruskan that process, okay, and stated that MASB is applicable to IFI. So we can refer to the statement of principle I1, financial reporting from Islamic perspective. Dalam ni ada explanation kenapa Islamic financial transactions boleh menggunakan MASB approved accounting standard. Walaupun MASB approved accounting standard tu dia tidaklah specific develop for Islamic financial transactions. So if you refer to that document, a statement of principle I1, financial reporting from Islamic perspective, in the purple box, the statement states that the MASB approved accounting standard can be applied after taking consideration their users and their information need, objective of financial statement, the underlying assumptions and qualitative characteristic of financial statement, elements of financial statements and their recognition and measurement, the concept of capital and capital maintenance. Okay, I check, I dah share ke belum ni. Okay. I got confused ya sebab um, bila I ajar masters level pun contentnya sama tapi the discussion is lebih in depth lah So bila I cakap tu I rasa macam I dah pernah cakap dulu sebelum ni. Okay. So this is example of MSB technical releases. Okay, yang additional guidance that is used as a guidance for Islamic financial institution if they are having problem in applying MASB approved accounting standard. Okay, so the IASB established a consultative group on Sharia compliant instrument and transactions. So the members intend to focus on challenges that may arise in the applications of IFRS standards to instruments and transactions commonly referred to as Islamic finance. IFRS and IFRS-based standards are used in over 100 jurisdictions. Okay. However, some jurisdictions differential accounting requirement apply to Islamic financial transactions. And these requirements are usually IOFI financial accounting standard ataupun local standard based on them. So what is IOFI? It is accounting and auditing organization for Islamic financial institution. They have a supervisory committee, financial accounting standard board, executive committee, Sharia committee. Okay, and IOFI develop their own standard because they are in opinion that IFRS cannot be adopted as they can either cause Sharia compliance issue or do not fully cover characteristic of Islamic banking transactions. And there were areas that IFI not adequately covered by prevailing international standards. So that's why they come up with their own financial accounting standard. Okay, so IOFI standard is for Islamic financial institutions sahajalah. Dia bukan untuk semua all types of institutions. The purpose is to enhance the confidence of the users. Okay, and the objective, you can have a look at the objective as showed in the slide. Okay, and this one I already informed. Basically, the objective of IOFI for IFI to present entities' economic resources, obligation and related risks, to determine zakat obligation, to estimate cash flow and related risks, ensuring rates of returns to investors, and disclose Islamic bank discharge of social responsibility. Okay, so there are IOFI standard. IOFI, issued financial accounting standard, auditing standard, governance standards. Code of ethics yang kita tengok sebelum ni lah, this chapter in the previous chapter. And the additional statement, as I mentioned, statement of source and uses of fund, statement of change in restricted investment, and use of fund in zakat and charity fund. So the comparison between MFRS and IOFI, this one you can refer to the MIA accounting for Islamic finance book yang saya dah share. Okay, so you can read further on the difference between, or the comparison between MFRS and IOFI in terms of their objective, okay, their qualitative the qualitative characteristics and elements of financial statement, in terms of recognition, okay, and then measurement, accounting assumptions tu sama, okay. And when we look at the requirement by IOFI and MFRS, or conventional standard, basically they are based on different accounting equation. Okay. So you dah tahu dah, asset is equal to honest equity plus liability. Tapi for IOFI, okay, they have mezzanine, or ada item yang dia tidak boleh kategorikan sama ada di bawah honor equity ataupun liability. So dia ada separate extra additional item which is equity of investment account holder. Okay. And equity investment account holder basically under IFRS, dia classify it under liability. So there is issues lah whether it is truly disclose the relevant information of the true economic situations for that transactions. Okay, and you can see the difference in the IOFI and IFRS reporting. Okay, I'm sharing with you the standard. Okay. And issues of substance overform and time value of money. Okay. Page, refer at my book, page 41, or here on page 833. In the textbook, substance overform is an accounting principle, which means that the economic substance of transactions must be recorded in the financial statements rather than just their legal form. For example, in the issues of ijarah. Ijarah is a leasing, basically based on leasing, tapi that one that have been highlighted is on buy, tapi ijarah based is leasing, tapi substance dia adalah financing. So there's issues on whether to measure based on legal or economic substance. Okay. This one Cuba tengok buku MIA. Page 41. Okay, kita cuba tengok. Page 62. Okay. On substance over form. When you learn about Syariah contract, you know that basically one product can combine two or more Syariah contract. Yeah. Dia akan combine lease dengan buy, musyarakah dengan leasing and so on. Yeah. So most of the Islamic financial transactions are built based on a series of closely interrelated components. This is to ensure such transactions are Sharia compliant. So I hope that you understand this statement already. For instance, ijarah summa buy, okay, it is based on the concept of ijarah and buy, hibah and ubud and others. They are the combinations of Sharia contract in one product financing. The structure becomes more interesting as the Sharia requirement require two separate contracts to enter on the sale and lease and to be entered at a different time and sequence. Okay. Failure to observe this requirement would render the whole financing transactions as void and hence the return is Sharia compliant. Okay. Having said this, a faithful representation of economic substance of ITAP financing may require all contracts involved to be considered as a single transaction, which is financing. Okay. If the overall economic substance is ignored, the focus is solely on the legal form of the individual contract in isolation. An entity would then record a lease transaction at the beginning and a sale transaction on the expiry of the lease arrangement. Okay. Okay. Kalau sebagai economic substance, dia dikira sebagai financing. Tapi kalau economic substance dia di-ignore, dia akan direkod awalnya sebagai leasing, kemudiannya at the end sebagai sales transaction. Ya. Sebab ijarah summa buy. Okay. The conceptual framework for financial reporting published by the IOF acknowledged substance over form concept. Okay. Okay. The concept of substance over form is welcome by the Sharia Advisory Committee. Maksudnya kita akan rekodkannya sebagai leasing, sebagai financing. Okay. So in this document, Sharia Advisory Council agreed that substance over form are equally important and highly taken into consideration. It was further explained that Sharia emphasized that substance over form must be consistent and not contradict one another. And in the event of inconsistency between the two, Sharia placed greater importance on substance rather form. Okay, based on the legal maxim, matters are determined according to their intention. Okay, sebab intention dia adalah sebagai financing, sebab tu dia record sebagai financing. Itu dia punya basis kepada deliberation dia lah. Okay. Okay, you can read on this And this is what I shared with you just now. Sama je, I just copy and paste. Okay. Okay, and then international accounting harmonization. So harmonization refer to the process of reducing unnecessary differences in accounting across country while retaining a degree of flexibility. So now we know the importance of comparability. Kita tahu there is a need to compare performance, financial performance of institution in different countries. But the issue happen yang macam I cakap tadi, because they are using different standard. Ada yang guna AUD, ada yang guna MFRS. So you can also see on the difference of financial statement there. Okay. So harmonization, basically they allow that country to use their own standard, but they aim to reduce unnecessary differences, so that it can be still, even if it is different standard, it can still be comparable and do not conflict. Okay. So there is a need for international accounting harmonization to ease the difficulty in presenting the financial statement, to improve confidence, to reduce costs, okay, eliminate international differences, increase auditing efficiency. Kalau sekiranya financial statement tu understood by the users of information, whether they refer kepada financial statement Islamic bank in country A or country B. Okay. And of course, we reduce trade barrier. Okay, comparability ni sambungannya. So currently, Islamic financial institutions have subjectively chosen IFRS standard that in their thinking do match the contract governing the underlying transactions. Accounting standard applicable by country. Okay, 18.1, country that apply IOFI include Bahrain, Bangladesh, Egypt, Indonesia, Jordan, Lebanon, Mauritius, Oman, Pakistan, Qatar, Sudan, Yemen. And countries that apply IFRS or other accounting standard without differential treatment include Albania, Australia, Brunei, India, Malaysia, just name a few. Okay, so you can see it depends on jurisdiction, it depends on geographical factor, regulatory factor, enforcement by their authority and so on. Okay, I would like also to add about Bank Negara Malaysia and Islamic Financial Services Act. This is the roles of Bank Negara Malaysia, or who is Bank Negara Malaysia. Okay, and the authority that regulate Islamic banking include Bank Negara Malaysia and Securities Commission. Okay, and then in 2018, the Malaysian government enacted Islamic Financial Services Act that repeal the previous act. For example, Bafia Act, Insurance Act, Islamic Banking Act, Takaful Act, Payment System, Exchange Control. So kalau you tengok kepada, ataupun you nak jawab soalan, you tidak lagi ambil point yang based on acts that already being repealed. Sebab yang latestnya adalah Islamic Financial Services Act. Okay. If you want to define Islamic banking pun, you should refer to Islamic Financial Services Act. So there are the regulations, okay. This statement highlight that all Islamic financial institution mesti kena follow instructions from Bank Negara Malaysia, as stated in the Central Bank Act 2009. Okay. And this statement stated that all Islamic financial statement must comply to Sharia, comply to Islamic Financial Services Act. Okay, if not, they will be liable to imprisonment for a term not exceeding 8 years or to be fined not exceeding 25 million ringgit or to both. Okay. So given the nature of Islamic law, which accommodate for different interpretation, Islamic finance is subject to different interpretation which lead to different practice and the use of concept across jurisdiction. Okay. So the difference between countries, different standard ke, different treatment ke, will impede actually the development of Islamic finance industry. So there is a call for harmonization so that legal uncertainty and the degree of Sharia non-compliance risk may be mitigated. Okay. Any question on Islamic accounting harmonization? Islamic accounting standard harmonization? I want you to refer to this statement. Statement of principle I1, financial reporting from Islamic perspective. Okay. Okay, any question?
No, madam.
Any question?
No, madam.
Okay. How about the